cover it. Big stuff. I stumbled across something that is a huge story, which I'm going to share in just a bit, that I stumbled across quite by accident, that very possibly is one of the biggest news stories out there right now that I don't know was picked up by anybody else. So I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about what Trump did on Meet the Press, which was incredibly awesome. Did you guys catch this? President Trump was doing an interview with Kristen Welker in Wisconsin on Meet the Press, and he actually got up and walked off the interview after he told her off. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. He was talking about what's going on in California. And she goes, "Do you have evidence of that, Mr. President? Do you have evidence of that?" And he told her how she's corrupt and all these other networks are corrupt and she's corrupt. And she says, "I'm not corrupt." And the president says, "You're either corrupt or you're stupid." Right? And I have been waiting, and it was great. And she was basically begging him not to walk off this interview. And it was raining, and they were outside, but they were undercover. He's like, "I've been out here for an hour in the rain talking to you. Enough." And he got out of here. He just walked out after he told her off. And it was beautiful. And I was really waiting for this because I haven't, over the weekend, I haven't talked about what's going on in California, which you all know what's going on in California, right? You know what they're doing. And the reason I haven't talked about it is I've been following it, of course, very closely. And I noticed that the president hasn't said much, and Spencer Pratt hasn't even said much, right? Spencer Pratt put up kind of like a meme kind of thing yesterday, but didn't say too much about it. And President Trump, while he made a reference, hadn't said too much about it. So I was thinking there's something in play here. President Trump, Spencer Pratt, Steve Hilton, there's something in play with California. And you saw the president today with Kristen Welker. And this is what I think is going on. What they're doing, President Trump, Spencer Pratt, Steve Hilton, the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, our great Attorney General, what they're doing, even though it's open and in the public and we all see it, they're doing kind of like a sting operation. They're letting these Democrats in California keep doing what they're doing, and then boom, they're going to catch them and they're going to bust them. And these Democrats in California, through their arrogance, their stupidity, and their outright racism, quite frankly, and just corruption in general, are going to be responsible for us getting the Save America Act passed. So they're going to use all this criminal, corrupt activity in California to get the Save America Act passed, and it'll be done, and the law of the land, before the midterm elections. That's what's going on here, and it's a pretty smart move. You guys agree with that? And you could tell the president was all over this today with Kristen Welker, when that's what they were talking about when he walked off with her. And in the long run, that's going to be a very good way to play it. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, what's going on in California is far worse than is being reported. Those of you that are Patreon supporters, I talked about something that someone sent me from California that I don't want to disclose yet, because somebody sent me a video out of California that I don't want to get into, because I don't know if they want it publicly known yet, because I think they're a very, very big Republican and very, very connected Republican in California sent me something. And I think it's part of what I'm talking about here. So this is it. Sometimes, I give you an example. I was watching this show, which I do not recommend. It's not very good. It's a British show called Legends about undercover narcotics agents for the Customs Service in England. And this guy is he's undercover with this big heroin trafficking family. And they're bringing in a small load, and he wants the government to let it into the country, because they're going to come with a big load after that, and they can arrest the big kahuna. Well, that's what President Trump and Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton and Todd Blanche are doing in California. They're letting them get away with their little, at least they think they're getting away with it. They're letting the California Democrats do what it is they're doing, and then they're going to come in and get busted. And then we're going to get the Save America Act passed, finally, which it should have already been. It should have already been passed, but that's it. And that's what's going to save our country. And it'll be the law of the land. If my theory is correct, it'll be the law of the land before the midterm elections. So let them. You think Todd Blanche and President Trump are just letting this happen? You think Spencer Pratt isn't saying much? Please, they're all over this. I got no worries about it. And I'm not talking about the immediacy of what's going on. I'm talking about the long term. These corrupt Democrats in California have done us a favor. It's absolutely amazing. So that's what I think's happened. You can let me know in the comments or in the chat if you agree or disagree with this theory of mine. I would very much like to hear your thoughts. Okay, so usually on Sunday mornings I do a live stream, and I slept in today. I didn't do a live stream this morning. Usually I do a live stream early in the morning, and today I didn't, because I slept in, which means I woke up at 5 a.m. So usually I'll do a live stream at like 5 a.m. But by the time I do a live stream, I've already had coffee in me. So I say, I'll live stream later today and give myself a little bit of a break, right? And man, oh man, I am so glad that I, it's such an interesting thing, because rarely do I miss a Sunday morning, early morning live stream. And I left my house at 6 a.m. to go get coffee. And I'm in the car and I'm listening to Fox and Friends Weekend. And I get my coffee and I got Fox and Friends Weekend on, and Rachel Campos Duffy just dropped something. They're talking about Plattner, and I almost turned it off, because I'm like, they're not saying anything new or interesting about Plattner. In fact, I think they're totally off base with their conclusions. And I did a podcast, which you got to check out, the true history of Graham Plattner. You've got to listen to that podcast. It's a couple of videos before this one on the channel. And I detail what I learned about Graham Plattner, which is pretty shocking. But Rachel Campos Duffy said something. It was so huge, and I wouldn't have heard it, maybe ever, if I had done my regular live stream this morning, because I would not have had it on. I'd have been live streaming or doing a live podcast. And later in the morning, I can't remember what time, I went online and tried to find it. I thought, oh, what she said was, I'll tell you what it is in a minute. What she said is so big, it's got to be all over X. And I want to, I'll take that clip. I'm going to share it on the program either today or tomorrow. And it was nowhere. It was nowhere. So I went back and got it. and it took me quite a while to find it. And it is posted on my X at Brian Craig Show. Okay, so if you go to my X at Brian Craig Show, you can see the video of what she said that I'm going to share. Okay. Now, remember, for those that are liberally impaired and don't know much of anything, I'm driving to my mom's house. Rachel Campos Duffy from Fox and Friends Weekend, her husband is Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation. Okay. So she obviously has insider information. And she said something today, Rachel Campos Duffy, that either her husband, that is classified, that her husband told her and she mistakenly blurted it out on the air, or the Trump administration told Sean Duffy to tell his wife this and to go on the air with it. And I'll tell you what it is once this jerk in front of me who doesn't know how to drive or merge gets going. This is unfreaking believable. There's one problem we have in Florida. You know what it is on the roads? It's called tourists. Can I get over, Dick? What an asshole. This person, I go to pass. Sorry for the language, guys. I go to pass to change lanes, merge, and they sped up and blocked me from merging. What a jerk. Anyway, okay, so here's what Rachel Campos Duffy said. Why would they do that? They sped up so I couldn't merge. Unbelievable. That's okay. Tourists in Florida don't know where they're at. Okay, so what she said, if it was from anyone else, I wouldn't make that big of a deal about it. But because her husband is a member of the Trump cabinet, I think we can take what she said as factual. So here's what she said. It was in the beginning of the 6 o'clock hour of Fox and Friends Weekend this morning. The video is on my X at Brian Craig Show. You can watch it. They're talking about the Platinum race. And then all of a sudden, she says, what the Democrats have going, the only thing they could possibly have going for them is if the war in Iran continues. And then she says this, and this was the thing that was huge. Rachel Campos Duffy said this: our partners in Israel are doing everything they can do to stop the Iran deal that President Trump is trying to make. They're doing it through bombing in Lebanon and espionage. And then boom, that was it. And a couple hours later, I was like, wow, that's huge. I was in the car and I was like, wow. Wow. That's big. What is that about? Was she supposed to? And my first thought was she supposed to say that? Is that something her husband told her and she blurted out on live television? Or is it something that the Trump administration wanted out there and they told her and they told her to go public with it on Fox? If it was anyone else, I wouldn't think anything of it. But because Rachel Campos is married to a cabinet member and said it, I think we could take it as fact. She said Israel is doing our partner Israel is doing everything they can do to stop Trump from being able to make the deal with Iran through bombing of Lebanon and espionage. And espionage. So it sounds to me, if Campos Duffy said is true, and I think we got to take it as true because of who her husband is, it means that the deal has not been made because of Israel. And the Trump administration is that. So what do you guys think? Yeah, the first question is this. Since Rachel Campos Duffy said it, and her husband's a cabinet member, do you believe that what she said is true? Yes or no? Do you believe what she said is true? And I would say, if anyone else said it, you guys know what a strong supporter of Israel I am. If anyone else said it, I wouldn't even think about it. Yeah. Yeah, everybody agrees. Yeah. You got to take it as the gospel because of who she is. Okay, here's the next question. Here's the next question. Let me think of the best way to word this, because I know it's a beautiful day in Florida, isn't it? Beautiful day, 86 degrees. I'm heading to my mom's house. Okay, so here's the next question. Did the Trump administration give her that information to say it live on Fox News? Did the Trump administration give her that information to say it on Fox News? And I say yes to that too. You know, and that would back up and give credibility to that story in Axios that Trump was pissed off at Netanyahu and called him yelling at him the other day. I didn't think that was true, but now with this, it fits. Yeah. So this is, yeah, Nick, 100%. And it was in the beginning of the 6 o'clock hour of Fox and Friends. If I would have done my normal live stream or podcast this Sunday morning, I never would have seen it. And it wasn't easy for me to get the clip of it. And because it's so early on Sunday morning, I don't think many people saw it because I haven't seen anyone comment about it online or anything. So I went and got it. I pulled it off the video and posted it on my X at Brian Craig Show. Everything happens for a reason. It is so unusual for me not to do a live stream at the coffee shop or podcast on Sunday mornings. I usually do, and I just didn't today. And I picked up on that. That is massive. Massive. So the two big stories are that, and I don't know how many people are going to know it, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure people know it. And of course, Trump walking off the Kristen Welker interview on Meet the Press, which was beautiful. But that is a major, major shift. And, you know, when she said, and I take it as a factual statement from her, she said Israel is doing everything they can do to stop President Trump from sealing the deal through the bombing of Lebanon and through espionage. And, you know, Israel, Mossad, and the CIA, but Mossad, they're so deep inside the Iranian government infrastructure that there's a good chance that there are senior people in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that are actually undercover Mossad, you know, and have the ability to give orders inside the Iranian government, military, Revolutionary Guard, and everything. It would not be surprising at all. And when I heard her say that, I mean, sirens went off. It's like, oh my goodness, that was huge. And when I couldn't find anybody clipping it online, I was like, what? You know, I guess it's just too early on Sunday morning and people missed it. Because I think it's a humongous story. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. Well, yeah, I mean, I take her statement as fact, only because of who she is and who her husband is. If this was anyone else, a guest, a pundit, a retired general, I would say, yeah, that's just their opinion. But with her, you got to take it to a different level. But those of you that are Patreon supporters, make sure you catch my latest Patreon live stream. I did a live stream late in the day yesterday. A friend of mine who's a very well-connected Republican in California sent me an insane video that I talked about. I'm not talking about it here because I think I really do believe that President Trump, Todd Blanche, and the Republicans, Spencer Pratt, Steve, that they are running a sting operation in California, letting them do what it is they do so they can catch them and use this to get the Save America Act through. I really do believe that. And I think it's pretty obvious because Spencer Pratt is not really talking much. Sometimes you got to be patient because, a lot of people were messaging me, why aren't you, over the weekend? Because I haven't really talked about what's going on in California. Why aren't you talking about California? Why aren't you talking about California? And I started thinking this on Friday because Spencer Pratt just was, and he's in with Trump and he's just being too quiet. There's something going on here. And then yesterday, it all really clicked. We'll find out soon enough. So those are two big stories. I am definitely, way too quiet. Way too quiet. So, a lot of people, they want to jump online and just talk about something because it's trending I like to wait until I have some information so that I can give an educated opinion, not just do clickbait and have something in a title because it's in the news right now and they just want to get a quick video out about it. Sometimes you can just tell there's something more going on, and it's best to wait. It's a nonpartisan in name only. Everyone knows Spencer Pratt's MAGA. Everyone knows Spencer Pratt's Republican. I don't want to miss the exit. The person that wouldn't let me merge is behind me. I can't believe it. They almost hit me. I couldn't believe it. I'm merging. It was at the beginning of the stream. I couldn't believe it. I'm merging, and they sped up and blocked me, so I couldn't merge. Give me a freaking break. What a jerk. We have so many tourists in Florida, and they're all lost. They don't know where they are, so they drive like maniacs. But that's the way it is on those two stories. And the Rachel Campos Duffy moment, I have the video. It's on my X at Brian Craig Show. You can watch it and judge for yourself, but I think I'm 100% right in my analysis of that. Hey guys. So yesterday I told everybody on Patreon about this, but I didn't tell you guys because it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was a secret, but it wasn't something that was being publicized. It wasn't a private event, but it was semi-private. I got invited to introduce Congressman Brian Mast at an event yesterday in his district in Martin County, Florida, Stewart, Florida, and it was spectacular. And I got to tell you, I have met many members of Congress in my time, a lot of them, and I was so impressed with Brian Mast yesterday. And when I got there, they had security and police there, and I got there early in a kind of a big area, and I figured I was actually talking to some people that were there. They were wondering, well, when are we going to know when he's here? And I said, well, we'll know because the police and the security. He just walked in with one other guy, his campaign manager, parked next door to where we were at, and just walked in like no big deal. These other people that I've met over the years that are in the house, they never do that. They come in, they got a security detail, they got an entourage, they're driven in, they got a big car. Here's another tourist, Texas. They're all lost, they're panicked. My mother lives in Fort Lauderdale, near the beach, near the port, near the airport and everything. So half the people on the road are tourists going to the beach, going to the port for a cruise ship, or going to the airport to fly out, and they're all lost. You could tell they don't know where they're going. You got to exit here, and if you got to get in this lane to go to the airport, this lane to go to the port, this lane to go to the beach, and you could tell they're all in a panic. But what blew me away about Brian Mast is none of that. He had one guy with him, his campaign manager, no entourage, no big deal, didn't come in surrounded by security or anything, and was, didn't have this big ego like he's some kind of superstar. It is so unusual. I was talking to his campaign manager. I said, you know this more than me. You deal with all these people. They always come in and make a big show like, I'm here, I'm here. It's like a parade when they come in. And he had a very funny line when I introduced him. I introduced him to come up and everything else, and then he comes up and and I hand him the mic, and he says, "Are you yielding the floor to me?" And I was like, "I'm yielding my time, Congressman." It was a kind of funny line. I said to myself, "Oh man, I wish I would have thought of that." Right? I could have said, "I'm yielding the floor to you, Congress," but he had that line. It was pretty funny. I put a photograph I took with him. It's in the community section here on YouTube. I put it up there yesterday if you want to take a look. And it was cool. All the news cameras were there. They had a drone right in front of us when we were speaking, filming us. It was crazy. I've never had a drone right in front of me while I'm speaking before, in front of a group of people. It was crazy. When is heterosexual month? I think Valentine's Day, maybe you might be able to consider it heterosexual. All these people making a big deal out of Pride Month and all of this. That's so dated. I mean, who cares about that anymore? If you are young and you want to shock your parents, you want to shock your parents, you want to shock your grandparents, you want to shock your whole family, come out of the closet as straight. That's what shock. What? That's what would shock people these days. Coming out as gay is so boring, right? Come out as straight. That's right. It's true. It's so sure. I'm going to my mother's house. I'm right down the street, so I got to sign off in a minute. And she lives in the house that I grew up in. And it's so weird when I come to this neighborhood because it's like so surreal because it looks the same as when I was a kid, but it's different, right? It's just like, I used to ride my bike where I'm driving. It's so strange. It's what it is. It's strange. It's which is good. I mean, it's nice. Yeah. It's almost like the winter, 86 degrees. This is not normal June weather. It's nice, cooling. But anyway, if you missed the beginning of the stream, go back and if you want to see that clip that I was talking about, it's on my X at Brian Craig Show, and I'm going to show that on the show tomorrow. When I heard that from Rachel Campos Duffy, it blew me away. All right, guys, I'm in my mom's driveway. But anyway, I will see you all later. Subscribe if you're new. Everyone like the video. And I'd like you, let me know in the comments your thoughts on my theory about what happened with Rachel Campos Duffy. All right. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time, guys.